What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fan of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com. And today I am joined by Michael Darcy from the Arrowhead Stadium parking lot to break
Yes,
down
sir.
what just happened in this Chiefs 30-29 victory over the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football. It was a wild game that came down to the wire. And there were a lot of questionable decisions on both sides from the Raiders and the Chiefs. And all I can say is I'm glad that the Chiefs came out with a win because they really needed to win this game. It would have been really hard to justify them losing to the Raiders because, they already had that stinker against the Colts. And it's like, okay, I can understand that one. But you lose to the Raiders, who were 1-3 at home on Monday Night Football. Like, that's something where we got to, look under the hood and go, what the heck is up with this team? Because so far, had they lost tonight, it would have been a thing where, you know, how do you describe this Chiefs team? Because some nights they look dominant, like they can beat anyone in the NFL, like when they played the Buccaneers, and then they could have just lost to the Raiders and had lost to the Colts. But anyway, the important thing is that they won. It wasn't necessarily a great looking win. It was an ugly game, but they won. And Michael, I got to ask you, from the parking lot of Arrowhead Stadium, what are your initial thoughts on that game, what we just saw?
So first of all, if you hear me scream unjustly, it's because I'm in a road rage incident because people do not know how to drive getting out of Arrowhead. But yeah, Josh, what a game. I mean, I will say that I missed most of the first quarter because I wasn't relieved of my duties. But what I did see was very just odd. It was a strange game because I felt like the Chiefs' offense, for playing so poorly in the beginning, kind of picked up the slack in the second half. I mean, Travis Kelce had 4 touchdowns, but I think he also had like under 50 receiving yards. Like the
Yeah.
guy literally was a touchdown machine tonight. And oh my gosh, I can't believe this. But I think that by itself is awesome. The thing that really kind of grabs my attention was the roughing the passer call on Chris
Yeah.
Jones, which
Yeah.
gave the Raiders a first down. I think they kicked a field goal at the end of the half to go up 20-10. But or maybe it was 20-7 at the time. I don't
Yeah.
understand that because the guy that I was standing next to, when he saw the flag, he's like, I wonder what that's for. I'm like, watch it be roughing the passing or roughing the passer.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I had no clue why they would call that, but apparently tackling the quarterback hard is a penalty in the modern NFL, which I personally don't understand. I think that was a call that, quite frankly, went the Raiders' way, but the Chiefs were able to overcome that. And the biggest play call to me that really sticks out was the 3rd-and-3 decision to go deep downfield on a pass play. Mahomes was targeting Mecole Hardman, overthrew him, and the Chiefs had to punt back to the Raiders with about under 2 minutes left to go. Or I guess it was under 3 minutes to go in the game. I don't understand the thought process in that because why not go with something more conservative, get that first down? You can if you get that first down, the game's basically over because
Yeah.
then at that point the Raiders have, I guess, 1 timeout, but you're under the 2-minute warning, and all you need is basically 2 first downs to win the game. But no, you didn't get that. You overthrew Mecole Hardman. You had to punt, and then you had to bank on your defense stopping the Raiders from getting to like the 50-yard line because Daniel Carlson was money. He was going to make any field goal from a far distance as well. So we kind of got lucky. I hate to be like that, but the Chiefs got really fortunate that play call didn't bite them in the ass because it really was a head scratcher. And, that's just one of those times that we're not going to really talk about it because we won the game. But if we lost the game, that's all that we would talk about.
No, yeah, I agree. So the call on 3rd-and-3 to go deep downfield to Mecole Hardman was very frustrating because, okay, yeah, you could go for it. And a lot of people were complaining not going for it, which, I can listen to any argument. But I definitely didn't like betting on the defense there to basically win the game. It ended up working out, but as I said to you before we started recording, um, all the Raiders had to do basically was cross midfield, and I was afraid Daniel Carlson would hit pretty much anything that the Raiders gave him. And it looked like they were about to do that. And that's where we saw the Devontae Adams catch that got overturned. It was incomplete because he didn't have control of it before he went out of bounds, which that was, thank God that's what happened. And thank God the refs got that call right, because there were a lot of calls in this game that they didn't get right. But that gets overturned. And then on the fourth down play, in typical Raiders fashion, they have two receivers, Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow, run into each other. Carr throws a deep ball that ends up going to nobody since they both fell down. Game over. And also, I don't know if you saw, but after the game, Devontae Adams pushed some poor camera guy that was just hanging around on the sidelines out of frustration. Like he had nothing to do with anything, and Devontae Adams just pushed him on his way to the tunnel. So he's probably going to get suspended.
I did not see that, but I expect nothing less from a Raiders player. Raiders fans, we won't talk about it, but they are just some of the wildest fans that will physically harm you if you are against them. But yeah, I mean, this win was so important in the landscape of the AFC West. You needed to get more ground in the division. Losing that game to the Colts really did kind of hurt them. That was their one kind of gimme. This was not a gimme, and you needed to win it. And the Chiefs were able to hang on to win 30-29. It wasn't the prettiest win. I think that we would all agree that there's a lot of stuff that they have to tune up. But, with these divisional games and specifically games at home, it just matters that you win them. That's all that matters, because at the end of the day, like, you only get 6 divisional games and you only get 3 of them at home. So win these games, and then you just buy yourself a little bit more breathing room down the line that you can go to Vegas and lose. Now, you obviously want to win, but losing in Vegas wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing because you handled business at home and you got the job done.
Yeah, it's nice because you give yourself some breathing room. You got a tough division win, another tough division win here early in the season. Now to go with that Chargers one. Going back to the Chris Jones roughing the passer, though, that had the Chiefs lost tonight, that also would have been a big play that we talk about. I'm not going to talk about it very much, but I am going to give my opinion on it, and that's, of course, that it was a horseshit call. Just being honest. I know that you're not supposed to put all of your body weight on the quarterback, and I know that's why they threw the flag. But in that specific scenario, what was Chris Jones supposed to do? Because now the refs are calling the game in a way where you're asking the defenders not to play football. Because with Chris Jones can't make that play without landing on Derek Carr in some way. And Chris Jones is a big dude, and he just happened to land on him. And he was also going for the ball. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, one positive that did come out of that disastrous end of the half was that the Chiefs were able to turn around and get a quick field goal themselves, a 59-yarder with Matthew Wright, who is an upgrade over Matt Amendola, but clearly, as we saw tonight, not fantastic. So that was nice because it essentially wiped what the Raiders were able to do from that Chris Jones roughing the passer. But you would have rather it not happen at all and the Chiefs get the ball back there and maybe get a touchdown. But it doesn't matter because Chiefs get the win anyway. Again, it was ugly. It was a 1-point win. They pretty much won when Josh McDaniels decided to go for 2 after the Raiders' last touchdown, and they failed on the 2-point conversion. There were questionable coaching decisions on both sides tonight, and the Raiders just made more bad coaching decisions than the Chiefs, I guess, and the refs too. That happened.
Yeah, and again, going back to the Chris Jones roughing the passer, the last thing that I'll say is, how do you expect a 300-pound man who is running full speed at another man to not land hard? How?
Yeah.
This is not – physics does not allow that to not happen. That's just how football works. So I think that, yeah, the refs are going to have to figure out how to get that right because Chris Jones did nothing wrong on that play. Nothing wrong. And Chris Jones seems to be the target of refs' bad calls this year. He had that bullshit personal foul call for trash talking against the Colts, and now this. So I don't exactly know how the refs are going to adjust from this. The fans at Arrowhead tonight were not happy, and I think that they were justified in that belief. But they were able to hang on and get a win. I didn't really see much of the first quarter. I know that the Chiefs' offense was kind of sputtering. What I would say about the offense is that it still at times tonight looked like they were a little bit out of sync and just not on the same page because receivers were dropping balls, some routes I think that weren't run the correct way. Again, they try to get Mecole Hardman involved, and when they do, it's just kind of all right. I guess he had that one really good catch down the sideline, but I just feel like they're still really focused towards giving Travis Kelce the ball. And again, he's the best tight end on the planet. He should be getting the ball. But at the end of the day, like if Travis Kelce's not the option, who's going to step up? And tonight, I don't think that obviously you win this game without Travis Kelce, but I'm kind of worried about who's going to step up if Travis Kelce's not the guy.
Yeah, well, luckily tonight the Chiefs did see a guy step up, a guy that I have always kind of pulled for since the Chiefs brought him in, and that's Marquez Valdez-Scantling, one of their secondary pass catching options. He had 6 receptions tonight for 90 yards. He did have a drop there in the third quarter, I believe it was. Maybe it was the fourth quarter. But he had a drop on a slant route that kind of killed the drive a little bit. I think it was the same drive, though, in which the Chiefs were going for a field goal. Matthew Wright misses the field goal, but the Raiders got a defensive holding, I believe it was, and the Chiefs ended up scoring a touchdown anyway. I think that was Travis Kelce's 4th touchdown of the night on that drive. But anyway, Marquez Valdez-Scantling had a very solid night. Mecole Hardman, despite his frustrations, 4 receptions for 73 yards and had a big play to move the chains there before his heel pretty much went out on him. And then he was in the next play. That was weird. I remember it looked like he was dying on the sidelines, and then the very next play he got a jet sweep, and he was back in the game. Juju Smith-Schuster, 3 receptions for 33 yards. He did his thing, moved the chains. Then Travis Kelce, story from tonight, 7 receptions for 25 yards, but 4 touchdowns. And, the funny thing is, I remember seeing a tweet earlier today from the Baltimore Ravens. I think it was their SB Nation site. They tweeted out about how Mark Andrews is the best tight end in the league, and Travis Kelce and Darren Waller are right there with him. And I'm like, seriously? No. Travis Kelce is far and away the best tight end in the league, and tonight just confirmed that because he was a touchdown machine. And although he didn't have a lot of yards tonight, there was, I think it was on his 2nd or 3rd touchdown, he just put the move on a couple Raiders defenders, stiff-armed a guy, and just walked into the end zone. Like, Travis Kelce's just a machine. And, the offense, like you said, it looked out of sync at times tonight. But Mahomes did get a bunch of guys involved as the Chiefs had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pass catchers tonight, over 20 yards. Jerick McKinnon had 2 receptions for 19 yards. So a lot of guys involved tonight. Also, Jerick McKinnon on the ground tonight averaged 6.6 yards per carry, 8 carries for 53 yards. Patrick Mahomes himself, they ran it with him a couple times tonight, and he looked really good. I believe they actually ran like a QB option for once, and Mahomes kept it and ran. And he looked really good. He dove headfirst for the first down and more. He had 4 carries for 28 yards tonight. I would like to see them incorporate a little bit more of Patrick Mahomes running the ball because it's like teams don't expect it, and then he does it, and they're like, oh, shoot, now we got to go catch him. And they're able to pick up easy yards when they do that.
Yeah, to a certain extent, though, I will say that you got to be careful because when Pat's running, it's always exciting because I feel like he's very good at running the football because, I mean, he's not the quickest guy, but he's just one step quicker than everybody else that's chasing him. And that has worked out really well for him. But, with him running, the risk of injury goes up. I just think that, I saw it again tonight that in the red zone, more of this like shovel pass stuff. Like, is that the Chiefs playbook in the red zone? Just shovel passes?
Yeah, it's getting to the point where it's like, all right, you do this every time. You got to try something else because teams are catching on. And also with Jody Fortson, I know he was out there on a couple red zone snaps tonight, and it's like, they're watching for Jody Fortson every time you put Jody Fortson out there. But then again, they could just be using him as a decoy too because, the defense does have to worry about him, and the Chiefs show they're not afraid to go to Jody Fortson in the red zone. So it makes sense. But, you got to stay creative in the red zone and not run the same thing 50 times, because we've seen that exact shovel pass about 50 times in the red zone. Also, a thing we didn't really bring up as far as why the offense was maybe a little bit slow at times tonight. The offensive line was having a hard time dealing with Max Crosby and the Raiders pass rush. And it was also another not so great night for Orlando Brown, the guy who
What a
turned
surprise.
down over $120 million this offseason from Brett Veach. He'd be lucky to ever see that offer again from any other team the way he's been playing this season.
I tried to tell everybody, and I think I even said this last year. He's not that guy. He just isn't. He can't do anything against speed pass rushers. He's slow to get off. Like, he struggles with guys that are really, really strong. I just don't see the point in giving him all this money. I think that at this point, not only is his trade value just at an all-time low, but his free agency stock, he might have gone down like $10 million.
Yeah. No, I mean, and if a team signs him, do they trust him playing left tackle? I'd maybe move him back to right tackle and see if he's any better there.
But you're not paying a right tackle $20-something million a year.
Yeah. No, well, and the Chiefs shouldn't pay him that at all, regardless.
Yeah, the bookends had some problems tonight. I thought that Nick Allegretti filling in for Trey Smith at right guard was actually not necessarily a problem tonight. I think that the offensive line was good in the run blocking. I mean, Jared McKinnon had a hell of a night, but in pass pro, they did struggle. But I wonder how much that'll improve once Trey Smith comes back. And, when is Lucas Niang coming back? I know that I probably shouldn't be holding out hope for him, but, he is a third-round draft pick or a former third-round draft pick, and he might have something to offer this team that's just more than Andrew Wiley.
Yeah, or heck, maybe even playing some. I remember they played him at left tackle last year against the Cincinnati Bengals in the regular season when Orlando Brown was out with a knee injury, and in the limited snaps that he played there at left tackle, he looked good. Then he had the season-ending injury, and that was unfortunate. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see him work his way back into this rotation at some point, this offensive line rotation. Those are kind of my thoughts on the offense, though. Like, after that, Mahomes and company, they just kind of woke up. You can see Mahomes got that angry look in his eye, and they started rolling, and Mahomes ended up finishing with 292 passing yards and 4 touchdowns. And after tonight, he leads the league in passing touchdowns. So typical Mahomes.
He's going to be in the MVP conversation at the end of the season. It's just going to be whether or not his team is towards the top. And I was in the stadium and my coworker goes, we play the Bills next week, right? I was like, really? I didn't even know that we played the Bills next week. So that's going to be a really big challenge. And I mean, I don't want to say that this is potentially an AFC championship game preview, but it might be an AFC championship game preview. With the way the AFC has looked this year, I would not be surprised if these are the two teams standing come January.
Yeah. Next week, I mean, the Chiefs are going to be hosting the 2021 regular season champions.
Yeah. The week 6 champions.
Yeah, they hung a banner for that, but it's okay. We got them when it mattered most. So that's all I have to say about the offense. The defense, though. Before anything, I do want to share that Andy Reid said to the media after the game that Tershawn Wharton did tear his ACL tonight, and he will presumably be out for the season, which is a big loss for this Chiefs pass rush. Tershawn Wharton was really coming on this year. He became a solid piece next to Chris Jones on the interior, and to lose him, that's brutal. And it almost makes you wonder if the Chiefs should see if the Carolina Panthers are having a fire sale and to maybe get someone off their defensive line or maybe make a free agent acquisition. I don't know. Is Ndamukong Suh still out there? I don't know. I would consider that. Because losing to Sean Wharton, that's a big deal. He started alongside Chris Jones on the inside there. That's a big loss.
Yeah, I think Ndamukong Suh is still a free agent. I don't know if they'd feel comfortable bringing him in.
Yeah,
but they do need to look at replacing him because I think that Nadi is good in the running game, but he offers next to nothing in terms of pass rush.
Yeah, and then you have Colin Saunders, who is kind of a wild card, I guess, and maybe they see what he does with an expanded role. But also, I think you still just need the depth.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the depth is important, and you know, I was talking with my coworkers today about this. If you're just gonna healthy scratch Ronald Jones every week, what is the point of having him on the roster?
Yeah, I mean, I would give him a shot. And it's funny the way the Chiefs handle their running back room because, like, okay, Isaiah Pacheco looked great last week against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He gets one carry tonight, one carry for 0 yards. And then Clyde, 9 carries for 15 yards, didn't look great. And then they just kind of went with McKinnon for the rest of the game, and it didn't really do anything else. And I don't know. The running back room is weird. It seems like it's kind of a different guy every week, almost like the receivers. But yeah,
It's also very hit or miss. Sometimes it's like in that Tampa Bay game, they ran for like a $196 and they were just all over the place. But then there's other times where they can't even muster like 70 all-purpose yards on the ground with all three of them together.
yeah, and you wonder how much of that was them missing Trey Smith tonight in the running game, but also, Max Crosby was just a menace, scraping down the line and making those tackles tonight. It was hard to run against him. He's great defending against the run.
And he's a really good pass rusher too.
Yeah, he's one of the best defensive ends in the league because of his all around ability. And also, looks like I got a bot in my comments now, so it looks like they
You
made
made
their
it,
way to your
Josh.
channel, Michael.
You've made it.
Yep. But the defense overall, I thought, they did give at the beginning of the game they were a little bit shaky and they gave up a lot of big chunk plays to the Raiders. And also Rashad Fenton, man. The Chiefs I cannot wait for Trent McDuffie to get back because Fenton has looked rough this year. And it was very predictable for Spags to put Rashad Fenton on Devontae Adams, which was just a terrible matchup. And I could have told you that. But they were able to take Devontae Adams out of the game later on, a lot more utilizing L'Jarius Sneed and giving that safety help over the top. Adams was able to get them once with a beautiful throw from Derek Carr, actually. Devontae Adams beat Brian Cook and Jalen Watson on that play, that touchdown to get the Raiders close. And honestly, Brian Cook was in a perfect position to make the play and everything, but it was just an even better play by Devontae Adams and Derek Carr. Did Michael die? Did the Arrowhead Crazies get him?
It was a fantastic throw. I could not believe that he
There he is.
completed it. Which can you not?
No, you were just delayed. I can hear you now, though.
Okay. Well, I was just saying that that throw to Devontae Adams was beautiful. Like it was perfectly placed. There really wasn't anything the Chiefs DBs could do about it.
Yeah.
And that's an example of a really good ball by Derek Carr. And I thought that overall the defense was. They had their moments because they had some really crucial stops, like on the fourth and I guess not. Yeah, it was the fourth down at the end of the game. Also on the 2-point conversion. I mean, that was the difference in the game. So you got to give them some credit for that. But if our offense wasn't able to muster 30 points, it would have been a rough game. And they also let the Raiders go up 17-0. So I do think that there's room for improvement, obviously. I think that our defense will drastically get better once we add back Willie Gay and Trent McDuffie.
Well, I was going to say they still, you can tell they still really missed Willie Gay tonight because they're definitely still attacking our linebackers in coverage. And Nick Bolton's playing out of position now. And Darius Harris, God bless him. He's doing everything he can. He did have a sack tonight, and I'll give him credit for that because that was a very timely sack that made the field goal a little bit tougher on the Raiders there. But, yeah, they miss Willie Gay. They really miss Willie Gay. And hopefully they can get Trent McDuffie back and push Rashad Fenton off the field because, that has not been great so far this year.
And I like Rashad Fenton. I think that he has played good football for the Chiefs before. The problem is what is this guy doing? I think Spags has put him in a poor position to succeed. I mean, Rashawn Fenton's like 5, I think 10, and Devontae Adams is like what 6'3", 6'4". Like that's not a good advantage for Rashad Fenton. That's a mismatch, and you just also wouldn't put your number 3 or 4 corner against one of the best wide receivers, probably the best wide receiver in football. It just doesn't make sense. That is that was
Sometimes I feel like, for as accomplished as a defensive coordinator that Spags is, sometimes it feels like he knows his players worse than anybody else in the league. Like
yeah.
sometimes he just like lacks like awareness, and it's maddening.
It honestly, it looks like a lot of trust. He just trusts his guys almost to a fault that they can get the job done. And I think that Spags was banking on the physicality of Fenton to be able to hang with Devontae Adams. But I mean, man, there's only so much you can do.
The problem with Fenton is he's undersized and he lacks athletic ability, and putting that up against Devontae Adams, who's still one of the best receivers in the league, it just wasn't going to end well. And the Raiders got an easy touchdown because of it. And that combined with some of the officiating tonight is why I think this game was even close. The Raiders, this should not have been a 1-point win. Really, this should have been when the adjusted scores come out from PFF, the Chiefs will have won this game by double digits.
I'm terrified to see what PFF has to say about this game. Honestly, it cannot be good. But I mean, at the end of the day,
lowest grade might be Mahomes' lowest grade of the season.
It could be. I mean, Mahomes had, I would say, a below average Mahomes game, and he still tossed 4 touchdowns and almost 300 passing yards. Just crazy.
Yeah, I said this last year. I made a whole video about it, but like his greatness has become casual to us because like he just threw for basically 300 yards and 4 touchdowns tonight, and it's just become normal. And that's not something that was ever normal before as your quarterback. I know Mahomes is averaging right around 300 pass yards per game. Like that's insane that he averages 300 pass yards per game. Most quarterbacks, they have like a 300-yard passing game a handful of times every year. Mahomes, he does it so casually on the regular.
Yeah, and he's always going to have us in the position to win the game. And that's kind of what I was thinking at the end of the game tonight, where we gave the ball back to the Raiders. I wouldn't have hated if you went for it. Let's say if the play call wasn't so abysmally bad on 3rd and 3, and let's say you got 2 yards. I have no problem keeping the ball in your playmaker's hands and let him make a play. Patrick Mahomes can get a yard. He can get a yard. And at that point, I think that we should have probably done that in hindsight, but that throw to Mecole Hardman kind of took it out of him.
Yeah, I still didn't love that play call. I don't understand why they were trying to go for the deep ball there on 3rd and 3. That's so frustrating. And also, I think, Harrison Butker, I really hope he's back next week, but if not, I would consider going for it on 4th down if it's not, an unreasonable distance with the way these backup kickers have been doing us. And also, I don't know if you saw, but Sunday, Matt Amendola lost the game for the Arizona Cardinals, missed a chip shot to tie the game. And you know what? That's the freaking Cardinals' fault, because what did Matt Amendola show when he was on the Chiefs that made them confident that he was going to do anything different there?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I do feel kind of bad for Amendola. It sucks to see a guy's career just go down like this. But yeah, I mean, the Cardinals cannot say that we didn't warn them, because it was clear in that Colts game that one field goal changes the outcome of that game. Now, I can kind of give you some insider information because I was there today. I saw Harrison Butker walk into the facility with no boot on. He looked fine, but he was not obviously suited up. He had tennis shoes and shorts on. So I don't know if he's going to come back next week or not.
He's got
I really hope he does, because special teams, man, it's a problem.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, the extra points and the field goals, like On a serious note, why not let Justin Reed kick if this is what it's going to be like? I really think Justin Reed would do fine.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to have this mentality, but at a certain point, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, that or going for it on fourth down or going for the
Yeah.
2-point conversion. Like, honestly, why not?
Now, I wouldn't want them to go full Brandon Staley and have to go for it on 4th and 8 like every single time. But,
Right.
you know, it, at a certain point, like, your backups aren't getting it done. And we've said this seemingly every week, but this just shows how important Harrison Butker is to this football team. And we
Yeah.
kind of take his greatness for granted, too. Like, field goals beyond 50 yards, not a problem. Extra points for the most part, not a problem. You know what I mean? Like, we
Right.
really need him back because he's really great. In fact, I think his percentage is almost up to par with Justin Tucker's. He's really good.
Yeah, no, they definitely miss him. And I've even taken him for granted at times because I got frustrated with the extra points and the yips that he had a couple times over the past couple years. But no, they need him back because I miss the reliability of Harrison Butker. I really do.
I do too, because who knows? If we had Harrison Butker in that Colts game, we're 5-0.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it still stings that we should be 5-0. Like and
Yeah.
the Colts, they looked awful again this past weekend. It's like, how did the Chiefs lose to them? How? How?
I think that they overlooked their opponent. I don't think that they overlooked the Raiders per se, but the Raiders weren't really good coming into this game, and I would almost be interested to hear your thoughts on if the Raiders are kind of out of the division race by now. Because what are they 1-4? They're 1-4 through 5 weeks of the season. I mean, crazier stuff has happened, but you got to kind of think that they're almost done.
Yeah, it's strange because I think the Broncos are the worst team, but because these losses that the Raiders have, they're just like backbreaking losses, like the one against the Cardinals, where it's like they probably should have won, and they're right. I think they're a better team than their record says they are, but ultimately your record is all that matters, and the Broncos have the better record than them. The Chargers are the Chargers, but I think everyone assumes they're going to finish second. And then the Chiefs have, the top of the division, on lock right now. And no, the Raiders aren't a threat. And if they lose a couple more here over the next several weeks, it's going to be hard to see how they make any sort of race to win the division or get in the playoffs at that.
It's going to be really tough for them. We were talking about it all off season. They won way too many games last year by one possession, and that's not a sustainable way to win ball games. And you're seeing that they're losing these one possession ball games. I think every game that they've lost has been by a score or less. So the tides have shifted, and I think that the Chiefs have done well at winning those close games consistently, and they have shown that they can blow a team out. Now, another reason why this win was so important, next week you play the Buffalo Bills. Initially coming into the season, I did not have the Chiefs winning this game. Granted, some things have changed. I think it's a lot more even than people will probably give it credit for, but it's going to be a really tough game. So the fact that the Chiefs were able to win this game to give them at least a little bit more of a cushion in the divisional race, it was really important.
Yeah, it's always important that you win these division games. And, the fact that it was close tonight, I'm not really concerned about that, even though I think the Chiefs are a way better team than the Raiders because, again, I think if a couple of things go the Chiefs' way, this is a double-digit win. And the refs weren't great tonight, and the Chiefs had some miscues. But as far as facing the Bills next week, I think the Chiefs have a great chance to win that game because the Bills aren't exactly. They look a little more mortal than I think people kind of made them out to be coming into this year. They beat the hell out of the Rams on the season opener, and everyone thought they were like the second coming of God, and that just hasn't been the case. I think we've seen that the Rams aren't very good, and the Bills are beat up. They lost. was it Jordan Poyer or Micah Hyde? One of their two starting safeties for the season. I'm not sure where Tre'Davious White is at in his recovery. I mean, that Bills team is not at full health. That's a game that the Chiefs can win. Like I said, the Bills are the 2021 regular season champs, and they're coming to defend their title, and I think the Chiefs will get revenge next weekend. But no, beating the Raiders was good, and it's good to give yourself a cushion in case you don't win that game. And I'm not concerned about the Chiefs-Raiders game tonight being close because, you know what, it's a divisional game. These divisional games are always tough. The important thing is that you come out with the win, and that's what the Chiefs did. They came out with the win, and that's all that matters.
Exactly. And honestly, it's absurd what Patrick Mahomes' record is against the AFC West. He's lost to the Raiders once. Once. He's been in the league 5 years.
Well, and I was kind of thinking about that too, watching this game. Now, I know the Raiders have been able to get us a couple times since Mahomes became the starter. But, watching that, I'm thinking, if I'm a Raiders fan, I got to be freaking livid because it's like, why can we not beat these guys? We just can never, ever beat them. Now, the Broncos fans can attest to this even better, but for the Raiders, it's like, why can we not beat these guys ever? Like,
the Raiders play it closer than the Broncos do. Like, the Broncos just every year just get, I don't want to say blown out, but like they just look underprepared, and they're always ugly games, whether or not it's close or not. Like, they're just ugly games where they just do not look good.
Well, it's crazy because there's like 7-year-olds out there that have never witnessed the Chiefs beating the Broncos in their lifetime.
I mean, it might genuinely be, they might genuinely continue beating them twice a year because the Broncos, they don't look good at all this year, like at all.
The Chiefs should beat the brakes off of them in both matchups this year.
Yeah. And they probably will. But, I didn't expect this division to be this bad. I thought the Broncos would be bad. I really was never drinking the Broncos Kool-Aid. I thought that the Raiders wouldn't be this bad. I thought that they'd be better than the Broncos. And I thought the Chargers would be a little bit better than they are right now. I mean, it's the Chiefs' division to lose. I hate to say it, but it is the Chiefs' division to lose. And as long as they don't collapse, they should be fine.
Yeah, I mean, looking at, we have a big enough sample size at this point in the season that I think we can kind of say what these teams are for the most part. There will be some dynamics that change, and there will be injuries that happen and stuff like that. But, I think the Chiefs are still far and away the best team in the AFC West. And a lot of people wanted to act like it was a conversation that they weren't. And we've seen so far that they still own this division. They still own the AFC West.
Still a lot of time. There's still a lot of time left to go. But, I mean, the Chiefs had one of the toughest first 8 games schedules, I think, in NFL history. And right now they're 4-1. There's a lot of time left to go in the schedule. There's a lot of tough matchups. But as a Chiefs fan, you got to feel good about where we are right now. It's a good spot to be in.
Like, yeah, we'd love to be 5-0. It'd be so much sexier looking if we were, but I'll take 4-1, especially given the fact that you lost Trey McDuffie, you lost Willie Gay to injury, you haven't had them for a decent portion now. You beat the Bucks, you beat the Chargers. Those were some statement wins. Things are going great. You would have liked to have won that Colts game, but me and you, we said after that game, I don't think that game's a reason to panic. I don't think any long-term issues, were exposed during that game. It was just, hey, the Chiefs came out flat and they overlooked the Colts. But yeah, tonight was another step in the right direction.
Yep. I mean, it's just, they're going to get better week by week. There's still a lot of stuff they have to clean up. Defensively, they still missed a lot of tackles today. But, I mean, again, when you've got that much youth and inexperience on your team, that's just kind of par for the course. I expect that. And on offense, I mean, it's just executing. On a lot of third downs and long yardage situations, I just feel like they didn't execute and they didn't make the right play call. Andy Reid's maybe this all goes back to who's calling the plays, but the play calling is either really, really good or questionable. I think we need to get back to the really good play calling.
Yeah, nah, I agree. The play calling, like last week against the Buccaneers, like that was an Andy Reid masterclass, and it's like, why can't we get that again? Is Eric Bieniemy calling plays again? Did they hand over the play calling duties to Eric Bieniemy, and that's why it looks like this? I don't know. And it's not necessarily that the offense is bad tonight. They still put up 30 points and they were fine, but man, they still have some of those stretches where it's like, come on, what are you doing?
And it's really funny how spoiled we are as Chiefs fans. As I'm standing there in the standing room section at Arrowhead, the Chiefs are down 17-0. And I look over to the guy next to me and I was like, we're literally 3 possessions away from tying this game, like going ahead. Like I was never like worried. That is absurd. We were down by 2 scores and a field goal. And I was like, yeah, I mean, Mahomes is going to get it going and we'll be fine. Just cut the lead to like 10 at half, and we're good.
Yeah, I was never worried about them being out of the game. When they ended up punting after that 3rd and 3, though, I was concerned that they would lose because there wouldn't be enough time on the clock to answer to whatever the Raiders did. That was my concern. But the defense did end up pulling through. I hate when we have those games where we have to bet on the defense to basically win it, but it worked, I guess.
Yeah, it did. And maybe the Chiefs should bet on the defense so that in the playoffs, if we really need to bet on the defense, they don't let us down. And if you can build that confidence in the regular season where the stakes aren't as high, you have a better chance of performing well when the stakes are at its highest. So maybe that's a good thing. But yeah, I mean, we were about 2 or 3 plays going differently from having a drastically different post-game show.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I would have had a lot of things to say about some of the coaching decisions tonight had they ended up losing. But it's all good. They won. That's all I got to say about this game, though. It was nice to get another division win here in Week 5. But, Michael, unless you have anything else, I was going to go ahead and ask you where the fans can find you.
Yeah, I got nothing else. You guys can find me on Instagram. That is KC_Sports Report. Twitter is at KC Sports Report. The YouTube channel is obviously at KC Sports Report. I'll have to get a post-game show up sometime. Probably not tonight because I am going to fall asleep for the next 12 hours. Yeah. But I will probably get one up tomorrow if Josh is available. And yeah, thanks for having me on. I think this was a really good win.
All right, there you have it. Chiefs fans, all of his stuff is already in the description from me. But if you want to continue listening and reading my content, you can either subscribe if you're not already, or you can check the links in the description and check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com. Excuse me. But with all that being said, make sure you like, share, and once again, subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. And we will see you all in the next one.